welcome to the Try Talking Sport podcast hosted by me, Joanne Murphy. Whether you are an athlete, adventurer, endurance enthusiast, or simply have an interest in sport, you have come to the right place for inspiration, encouragement, motivation, and as always, plenty of entertainment, and especially so in this episode. This is episode 81 of the podcast. How in the heck did that happen? It's our 3-year anniversary next week since the very first episode went live in May of 2019, and what an adventure it has been so far. I can't wait to see what the next 3 years of podcasting brings and who we will get to meet through the show. I am still on a high after my American announcing adventures at the Intermountain Healthcare IRONMAN World Championships presented by Utah Sports Commission in St. George. Flying high, still buzzing and still full of fatigue from an epic week and some crazy jet lag. But wow, what an honour it was to be part of the announcing team for the event with Mike Riley, Paul Kay, Tom Ziebart, Eric Gilsonen and Andy Riley. If someone had told me in the midst of the pandemic that we would work together at the IRONMAN World Championships in May of 2022, I would have told them they were dreaming. But it wasn't a dream, it really happened, and what a privilege and opportunity it was to be the very first female announcer at an IRONMAN World Championship, making a little bit of history as part of the overall story of this already very special World Championship, which in its own right will go down in history for many reasons. Not least the fact that it was the first ever IRONMAN World Championship to take place outside of Hawaii. And what a special place to hold this event. Utah is simply stunning, breathtakingly magnificent in all its glory. I can't wait to go back in October to the land of endurance for the 70.3 World Championships and spend a bit of time exploring the trails and the locality after the events before I come home. Congratulations to everyone who took part in the event. It was most definitely a challenging day for the athletes, as many of you will have seen from the reports and the coverage of the race, and as you will hear from Hilary in just a few minutes. I hit reality fairly quickly when I got back last Tuesday and have been trying to battle the fatigue and jet lag with little to no success. I'm hoping that over the next few days it will subside, but it's been pretty hectic since I came home and there's lots of things going on. In fact, as I was crossing the Atlantic early on Tuesday morning, like crack of the dawn, middle of the night early, I was messaging Helen from the Inside Tri show, God bless free Wi-Fi on the plane, and we came up with a plan to host an IRONMAN World Championship special edition of the Tri Commute this Friday night at 7:30pm Irish and UK time, featuring professional female athletes Kat Matthews, Ruth Astle, Laura Siddle, Fenella Langridge and Nikki Bartlett, and we will also be joined by this week's podcast guest, Hilary Hughes. Nuasan have also come on board to power this event, so when you sign up to attend the Zoom meetup, you will receive a code for 20% discount off their Nuasan products. Yes, 20%. And we will also have some gifts from Nuasan to give away on the night. Check out their skin and body care products on www.nuasan.com and register to join the Tri Commute on www.trytalkingsport.com. Next week, the 25th of May, I will host the Mind Dive webinar for Nuasan, where Dr. Nia Flynn, sports and performance psychologist, will take us through a session to unlock our performance potential. Using the power of our mind to reach our goals, she will share simple techniques to break through mental barriers to achieve success and look at the use of hypnosis in modern sports psychology. Sign up to this event over on www.trytalkingsport.com. There are a few other events I want to mention before we get into the episode, including a reminder that we have a discount for Loch Cutra Castle Triathlon taking place on May 28th and 29th in Galway. And in fact, we have the same discount for all the Castle Race Series events in the UK. So be sure to check them out and get yourself ready to race at one of the stunning castle locations. The Bear Group have also given us 10% discount across all of their events over the coming months, including the Wheelworks Fastlane Half Marathon and 10K taking place this Sunday, and the Joe Duffy BMW Clontarf Half Marathon and 5 Mile taking place in July. Check out the events on our website and keep an eye on the Facebook page to win an entry to the Wheelworks Fastlane Half Marathon and 10K at the weekend. It was great to be back in the Phoenix Park on Sunday for the Athletics Ireland Irish Runner 5K sponsored by Sports Travel International, which was also the 5K National Championships. It was perfect racing conditions. Congratulations to the new national champions Ephraim Geedy and Ciara Hickey and to everyone who participated in the event. The next race in the 2022 Irish Runner Race Series is the 5 Mile event on June 12th, which promises to be another great morning in the park. Details of this event can be found on the Athletics Ireland website. Finally, before we get into this week's chat with Hilary, huge congratulations to Sean Hernan, Martin Divley and Adam Spear, who took the titles in the Wild Mayo Ultra 650k, 300k and 200k respectively. A challenging course to conquer. Well done to everyone who took part. The next event to be hosted by the team at Raceface Events is the Run Mayo 5k, 10k and half marathon, taking place this Saturday at Ballinrobe Racetrack. Check out the details on our website. Phew. Okay, that's those done. I told you it was busy. Right, time to grab a cuppa and get ready for a wild adventure with this week's guest, Hilary Hughes, who has taken the triathlon world by storm since first dipping her toes into the sport in 2017. The multiple triathlon national champion finished second in her age group and fourth amateur female at the IRONMAN World Championships in Utah in only her second ever full distance triathlon. Yes, second ever full distance race. Other notable results include National Middle Distance Champion 2021 and 2019, National Duathlon Champion 2021, Individual Pursuit Champion 2018, and at the Ironman 70.3 World Championships held in St. George last year, she placed third in her age group. She has had multiple age group wins across Ironman Lanzarote in 2021, Ironman 70.3 Lanzarote 2019, and the Ironman 70.3 that took place in Dublin in 2019. Coupling her passion for medicine and her love of sport, Hilary has been on a journey of juggling time, training and energy in recent years to be the best she can be in both her professional and sporting career. Taking time out from medicine to focus on her sporting career was a big decision and one she didn't take lightly, but one that clearly has paid dividends in terms of her racing performance and success. Her passion for sport is infectious, as is her laugh. This episode of the podcast provides a glimpse into Hilary's life as she shares plenty of nuggets of inspiration that are sure to fire up your own passionate energy for your chosen sport. We laughed our way through this episode, but behind the laughter and the fun stories, Hilary Hughes is a determined, courageous and spirited athlete who will leave no stone unturned or any preparation to chance as she goes all in to be the best athlete she can be. Watch this space. There's a whole other chapter to be written by Hilary as she embraces her life in sport over the coming years. Now go and enjoy the show. Hilary Hughes, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. How is your American accent shaping up after a phenomenal time in Utah at the Ironman World Championships last Saturday?
Hey, Joanne, how are you? I don't think I have picked up any American slang. I think I'm still very much a country Irish girl.
Is everything not awesome?
Awesome. The garage, the
sidewalk,
the trunk, the garbage.
The trash.
Yeah, actually takeout. I definitely started saying takeout a lot instead of takeaway. So I had to correct that one.
Well, look, we'll knock the American out of you because it's already been knocked out of me and I'm only home 3 days. So
yeah.
It was absolutely so cool to see you in Utah.
Me too.
At the Ironman World Championships. And just to preface this interview, both of us are as giddy as two giddy kids really chatting. And we were so giddy even when we met each other at bike check-in because that was the first time I'd seen you in person in so long. So I apologize in advance if this podcast comes across as like too giddy and too hyper. We have to preface this podcast as well by saying that we tried to get this show on the road so many times over the last 6 months. So many times. I don't know who was ghosting who at one stage. But there's a perfect time for everything. And this is the perfect time because
I think it's fate. It definitely
is
yeah.
fate. What an incredible performance you put in last Saturday.
Thank you.
I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about how well you did. The performance you put in, the swim. Okay, you said afterwards that you need to improve your swim a bit, but you were the fastest bike in your age group, fastest run in your age group, second overall in your age group, fourth overall in the world in the women's amateur race. I mean, I genuinely have goosebumps saying this back to you.
Oh, thank you.
But how does it make you feel to hear this? Like, this is you we're talking about, not some random stranger from somewhere across the world. This is you. This is Hilary Hughes from Westport.
Gosh, I haven't really thought about it like that. This is me. It is just me doing my thing. Oh no, it was incredible. I was really delighted. I was thrilled with the result. I think it was only my second ever Ironman full distance, so I didn't really know what to expect.
So that puts you in the same category as Christian Blumenfeld, because it was his second only ever Ironman too, and he's now the world champion.
Yeah, and I think he had a bit of, not that I am comparing myself to Christian Blumenfeld, but he had a bit of a disaster in Dubai at 70.3, and so did I. So going into the race, it was like, okay, second time doing the full distance Ironman. There's so much to think about apart from actually being fit. It's like a whole adventure out there. Getting your nutrition in, just, maintaining your concentration. It's a really long bike. And then I had kind of, a shaky start at the season. So I was a little bit like, oh God, there's a lot to contend with here. So honestly, thinking about results was not really there. It was more about, let's get, a good performance in, let's have a steady pace throughout the day, and finish the race. And then see where that gets me. So yeah.
And I think it was, even from, if you look at what the professional athletes did, and certainly on the male side, it certainly was a case of just pace it right to get on the run. And then if you have it in the tank, then you make your move on the run, because that bike course was incredible.
It was insane. It was an amazing course. I absolutely loved it. You kind of, you're 40k in, or even 50k in, and then you're starting a 40k gradual climb, and then even the descents were difficult enough because they were so fast that you really did have to kind of stay on your game. You couldn't switch off. And then I don't know what, going up through Snow Canyon, I'd done it so many times, and it was relatively okay, and like I'd done hard efforts, medium efforts, easy efforts. Oh my God, going up through Snow Canyon was one of the hardest things I've ever done on a bike. It just, like, the wind dropped and the heat just was smashing down on us. And yeah, it was so tough. I kind of got a wobbly moment of feeling like, God, I could pass out here. Luckily though, I had some supporters on course. So Annalise was up there with her boyfriend Keane, and they had music blaring. We have this song called Du Hast. It's a big rowers song. It's kind of like rock music. So Annalise had that blaring, shouting at me with the Irish flag, and it kind of brought me to again. And then you had that descent. So once you got through Snow Canyon, you knew you had a descent to recover to before you started the run. But it was definitely a war of attrition out there, and kind of just keeping your head and keeping it was your own race, really, at least in the age groupers.
And then when you came in off the bike course that you had to run up the hill, I was calling it the Hoka Hill at the hot corner, but it was a straight up hill.
Yeah. Well, I had done the 70.3 champs September, October last year. So I knew what to expect. And I knew that diagonal street well, ingrained, burned in my memory forever. But yeah, you basically jump off the bike. You get there's a water station or an aid station straight away, and then you are climbing for 5k essentially. It wasn't as severe as it was in the 70.3. It was the gradient was a little more reasonable. However, you hadn't done an 180k bike, so it still felt pretty tough. And also the heat was fairly beaten down on that side of town as well, again. So Diagonal Street was really hot. So when I started off, I was like, oof, this is going to be a hot run. But then once you kind of get to the top of that 5k, the first 5k, you descend then for 5k, and actually you kind of cool down a little bit, and that allowed the legs to open up and start flowing. So you kind of got to recover again. Basically, like, okay, this marathon is 4 5k climbs. That's all you have to focus on. And then on the downhills, just let your body go. Just let it go, let it flow, get as much speed as you can. So it kind of helped actually to break it up into 4 climbs, I found.
Coming down the hill for the very last time, back towards the hot corner to do the little dog leg, the 1 mile or the half mile out and back before hitting the finish line. What was that like?
Oh, so I had my dad, my mum and my brother, Annalise and Keane on course, and they were kind of around at different areas. So when they first told me, they were like, in the first 5k, they're like, you're in 5th place. And I was like, oh, 5th in my age group. And they're like, no, 5th overall. I was like, what? Wow. Okay. Didn't expect that. That's really cool. So I suppose I was like, okay, let's protect that position a little bit, because it's a good result, it's a solid result, and I would walk away with that very happy. And a marathon's a long way, so let's not get greedy here. So I was like, pace it well. So then you're always, I suppose you're always a little bit on edge that you might blow until about the last 5K, and especially when the last 5K is downhill. I was like, okay, I am actually going to make it home, and I'm going to make it home in 4th position. This is insane. So yeah, I did actually, just with maybe 3K to go, I was like, let's have a little think about how epic this is. You've had, an amazing trip out here, meeting brilliant people. You've had your mum, your dad, your brother, they've had a ball, and Lise, with Niall McCarthy in the house with us, his mum. It had been an epic trip, and this was just the cherry on top. And yeah, I guess I just took a little while to let it sink in. And it was a lovely feeling to be able to do that. And sometimes, you'd be fighting for a position and you're just focusing on emptying the tank. But I kind of cruised in and just soaked it all up. It was really fab. And then what did I hear? But Joanne Murphy's voice announcing me over the line. And I wanted that for so long, because you missed me in Dublin 70.3 and I was devastated. So like, honestly, that was epic. And then it was like, when I heard your voice, I was like, where's it coming from? And like, you can see me as I cross the line. I'm looking left, right, up, down, and I couldn't see where you were. So then I was just like, just celebrate that she's calling your name.
And I wasn't meant to be on the finish line. Like, I didn't expect to be on the finish line at all. And when I met you in bike check-in, you were saying, I can't wait for you to call my name. And you'd said it before, and I was like, I can't tell her before the race that I won't be on the finish line. So
Jordan, if you had told me that, honestly, I would have been devastated. I think like it would have taken away from my motivation on the day. I was determined I was going to cross that finish line and you were going to call my name.
And it was so funny because I had actually said it to Mike and Paul. I said, oh, Hilary Hughes from Westport is going to do really well, really excited to see her race or whatever. And I'd been on the hot corner. So to explain to the listeners, the hot corner was where the riders came in off that big hill off the bike into T2, and then they ran back out of T2 and back up the hill. So I saw athletes 6 times at that hot corner, because the run course was a 2-loop course, but there was a little jagged leg off the roundabout, the last half a mile out and back and then into the finish line. So I saw athletes all the time. So I stayed for as long as I could until as many female professional pros are to the finish line. But the boys were like, Joanne, you have to take a break. And I was like, I can't now. I can't. Like, I'm in my flow. I'm not taking a break in the hot corner. And then, so I left for a few minutes and I came back in time to call one of my favorite pros in. And then I was like, okay, I'll take my break now. And then I was like, okay, where's Hilary Hughes? Because if I am not at the hot corner on the microphone when Hilary comes in, I will never forgive myself. So I was tracking you. And then the next thing I get a message from Mike saying, come to the finish line. And I was like, what? Finish line? Okay.
Not now.
So I ran up and I was like, are you okay? He goes, yeah, pick up a microphone. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, pick up a microphone. I thought, oh my God, is this actually really happening? And all I could think of was like, this is epic, but where's Hilary Hughes? Mike calls so many athletes over the finish line, and the next thing I saw your name, I was like, she's mine. Can I call her?
That was
I was like, sorry, Hilary, if you wanted Mike Riley calling you across the finish line, because it was my job. So then it was so lovely to run down from the tower and to give you a hug and be like,
the big hug.
So well. And
they were trying to usher me on. I was like, no, she's coming down. I have to get a hug.
And I'm sure you won't mind me saying, but you said, no, I'm really sweaty. And I was like, I don't care.
Oh, I was like, this is disgusting for Joanne, but if she's in for a hug, I'm in for a hug.
So that was it. So that was a very, that was a very special moment for both of us.
I mean, you like, let's talk about your race.
No. Let's not talk about my race for the moment. No, we'll come back to that later on. Let's keep going about Hilary's race. So we had that epic crossing of the finish line moment. How did you feel afterwards in the immediate aftermath? You mentioned there that on the run course, you needed to pace it well. Sometimes you're thinking you need to empty the tank to get to the finish line. You didn't really need to go any faster to get that position. So how are you feeling crossing the finish line, I suppose, is really what I'm asking.
Yeah, no, it's a strange one. I think, as I said, it's only my second Ironman full distance. So you're still really learning about what you can do in the race. So I think, look, I was very comfortable throughout a lot of the race. And that was a definitely a purposeful move, because you can feel comfortable at the beginning and you mightn't at the end. And that's not to say that I wasn't dying on Snow Canyon, and my legs were getting sore towards the end of the run, but I was never fighting or, I suppose going into the red, because my main mission honestly was to come back with a solid performance, not even solid results, something that I was happy with, and still learn the dynamics of the full distance. So I crossed the finish line. I felt great. I was thrilled. It's always this, I just find it the most incredible feeling, even in the half. It just feels like such an adventure, from the start of the swim to the finish line. There's just miles and miles to go, and you just don't know what's going to happen. And, loads of things always happen out there. It's like, it's a whole world of activity, and there's always so many stories. So I think when you finally do get to the finish line, it's like, that is unbelievable. I've actually made it to a finish line again. Wow. And yeah, I was comfortable. I was happy. I found my mum, my dad, Annalise, the gang, and my legs were, tired, but like there was nothing major, I suppose. So I think now, reflecting back on it, I'm excited to see what it's like to go into the red and to put everything on the line and risk blowing up. And, I think that's the next step. I've done it in cycling races and, shorter triathlons where you're just like, I'm just going to pretty much go for it. And, if I blow up, that's fine, because that's what I know I'm doing. So yeah, it's exciting.
How did you celebrate?
Oh God, what did we do? I know what we did. Sorry, sometimes I forget. So we went back to the house, and Annalise and Keen had bought a load of barbecue food. And we were staying actually in the Ledges community. So it was just a rented house that was about 13 minutes from the top of Snow Canyon. Highly recommend it if anyone's going there. And as I said, there was Niall McCarthy, his mum, Annalise, Keen, my brother, mum, dad. So there's a great crew of us. So Annalise and Keen got the barbecue on and made like the most epic barbecue. And
Where was my invite?
They had gotten the day before, they had told us they had gotten these like Cinnabons from, did you hear of River Rock Roasting Company over in Zion Park? It's a really nice coffee kind of cafe, but there were these huge big buns with like lots of icing on them, and they got one for me and one for Niall. So yeah, we just had like lots of fun, wine, beer, barbecue, cinnamon buns, ice cream. Annalise just gave me the tub. She was like, that's yours. And then yeah, we had some laughs, we called the day, and then I went to bed.
And then the next day you stood on the stage as the second fastest athlete in your age group with your Omeke bowl held high in the sky.
Yeah, it was cool. Bit early though, eh?
Oh, you were telling me.
I couldn't believe it when it was 10 a.m. I was like, are you kidding me?
What time did you get to bed at?
Oh, I mean, probably midnight. I really don't remember.
2 o'clock. Yeah, we were up for 24
hours. You were on the line until what time did the last person cross the line?
Crossed the finish line, I think, just before 1 a.m. And then by the time we had tidied up, we were home and in bed at 2 a.m.
You were very fresh the next morning, considering I'd forgotten that.
So speaking of feeling fresh, how are you with the jet lag since you've come home? So I'm home since Tuesday afternoon, and today is my second day in a row where I haven't had to take a nana nap for 19 minutes. So I'm very proud of myself. But you're home since
so hard to resist.
I know. Wednesday afternoon, you got back to Westport.
Yeah, Wednesday afternoon. I actually, to be honest, like my legs are as fresh as daisies, and body muscularly is ready to go, but I am jet lagged. I just, like, last night at 4 a.m. I was bouncing around the place, ready to go, making plans, taking over the world. And then when I finally woke up this morning, I was like, I can't get out of bed. My mum had to come up and be like, Hilary, are you getting up? I was like, this is awful. I feel like a lazy teenager.
You've just done an IRONMAN World Championships, traveled halfway across the world. It's okay. So before we kind of move on a little bit, I want to come back a bit. I do this with everybody. I want to find out, where did this appetite for sport come from? Where did this interest in sport come from? As a kid, were you very active? Because you're only in the sport of triathlon and cycling in very recent times.
I know. Yeah. A latecomer. To be honest, I feel like it's a very convoluted pathway. So I'll just kind of give you the highlights. I was into horse riding as a kid and loved it, and competitive, and, did all Irelands and show jumping. And that was absolutely my passion. So I suppose there was, discipline and competition and all that kind of thing there. But it was definitely my brothers and sisters that were the big sporting people in my family.
But you're the eldest of all the siblings.
The eldest, yeah. So I used to look up to my younger siblings in awe, genuinely. I thought they were fantastic, amazing. And it was never something that really I considered that I could do. They were the athletes, and I was in awe of them and loved supporting them. And it wasn't even something that I necessarily aspired to. I was just, it didn't seem like an option. And I don't know why, because I never really tried either. But anyway, went to boarding school and kind of couldn't, in fourth year, and couldn't really keep up the horse riding. At the same time, my younger sister Pamela started, and she started in first year. And she was a really, she was winning cross country All Irelands, 800 meter All Irelands, high jump All Irelands. And she joined the same year as Sarah Tracy. So Sarah Tracy was an Olympian who represented us in steeplechase and has, represented Ireland multiple times as well. So basically the two of them started up a cross country team, and Sarah's older sister Fola decided that if my sister could run, then I can run. So she basically bullied me, and she'll admit that, into running a cross country race. So I went out the day before the cross country race, ran the distance, see could I do it? I could do it, went and ran the cross country race, and did a bit of running from then on until early university. And then, to be honest, after that, just enjoyed college, kept fit, throughout the years, doing different things, always doing a little bit of running, body pump, Bikram yoga, bit of spinning, whatever was on. I've just always loved having a little bit of activity, always balances out study, whatever's going on in life, gives you the endorphins. I'm addicted. There's no two ways about it. Always have been. So yeah, always something going on activity wise. And, might pop into that 10K race. But never looking at time splits, nothing like that. No proper training compared to what we do now. And then I think really when it kicked off was I did the Cycle Against Suicide, the first round of that in 2013, I'm going to say. I'd never ridden a road bike, nothing like that, knew nothing about them, but decided to do the first 7 days of that. And it was an incredible experience, apart from the actual cycling. So we cycled 100K a day. And then we got to day 7. And I was
so you just said it was an incredible experience apart from the cycling.
Yeah, well, the cycling was amazing too, but it was, calling into different schools and promoting mental health awareness, and there was just such a buzz and an outpouring of conversation around mental health and suicide awareness, and it was incredible. The cycling was, interesting. For example, I thought the best thing to do was to wear 2 pairs of underwear under my bibs to protect me. The more padding, the better, right?
Did nobody tell you the no knicker rule?
No, I had no idea. It's so mortifying looking back. My 2 pairs of good underwear, then I put on leggings, then I put on the bibs. Then I left the bibs, the actual straps, I left them down because I saw someone else leave them down. So they were hanging down for the whole 14 days. Because I don't know, I just thought that's what you did. I did the whole thing in my runners and in cages, the clip-ons where I didn't even know they existed before I went to Cycle Against Suicide. I had a big woolly ski hat on under my helmet. Really, I had about 5 layers on top. It was, but isn't that the best? I was in my element and happy out. And I just think sometimes that's, the sweetest time in sport, when you're just getting stuck in and you're not bothered about any of that stuff.
Well, you don't know any better.
Yeah.
So you're doing what's best for you.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, anyway, after that, then I guess I did a couple of triathlons, but nothing, I was just kind of on the buzz of let's get stuck into other adventures. And one of those was triathlon. And it was really only then 2017, I'd done a couple of triathlons, had qualified for, the age group competitions. I think, Europeans and Worlds. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Another opportunity. I'm going to go for this. So I took on a coach, Ronan McNamara from Sligo, and he did some bike testing on me. And that was the first time I had any bike testing. He was like, hey, you're good. And I was
can I ask, did you have boob shorts on without underwear this time?
I did. Yeah, no, it was a long time though before I realized that you didn't wear underwear. Like, I think it was probably in around 2017 that I figured it out. Like, it was a while. And it was a long time before I wore cleats as well. I was like, I can keep up with everyone without the cleats. I don't see the need for these dangerous things that could cause me to fall off the bike.
And we've all fallen off the bike the first time we've worn the cleats. In fact, probably fallen off the bike 4 or 5 times in the first spin. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Like terrified. The first junction you come at, you're like, oh, how do I do it? And you're now
absolutely terrified. I know, clipping in, clipping out.
Flying it.
Still only on the right side though. I wouldn't risk the left. If my left foot ever comes unclipped, it would be a serious balance issue.
Oh no, I'm trying to think. Do I unclip my left or my right leg?
Don't.
I'm right-sided, but I unclip my. Oh my God, I'm going to have to go on the bike and check after the interview what I do. I'm practicing my cycling here while I'm talking.
I can see.
My legs are going 90 under the desk here. Hang on now. Come to a stop, pull the brakes, clip. Oh, I'm going to have to go check. I'll check and come back to you and tell you. I'll check. I'll have to check. So anyway, let's fast forward again.
I told you it was convoluted, and I was like, I'll only give you the highlights.
It's just like an adventure. It's like the adventure with Hilary Hughes. So you did the bike testing, and Ronan decided
and then
to basically the bike.
Yeah, and Cycling Ireland then put out for talent transfer project. And I was like, oh, hey, this testing thing is cool. I'll get more free testing. Give it a go. Did it, got selected. And it was a talent transfer for track endurance and for team pursuit specifically. So basically you did it, you got selected to do 6 weeks of specific training with them. And then it was about the improvement that you made in your certain tests. So I think it was like 8 seconds, 3 minutes, and there might have been some other test. So then it was whittled down to 8 of us, and basically that started my journey. So we started bike racing. I did my first Ross na Man. I got destroyed. It was devastating. We got dropped every day. We didn't know what was going on, but it was epic, and we finished. And then we moved out to Mallorca as a team pursuit, 4 of us, myself, Orla Walsh, Mia Griffin, and Imogen Cotter. And we had a ball of a time. Like, none of us knew anything really about cycling, to be honest. Never mind track bikes and a velodrome. But we ramped up really quickly, and within 6 months we competed at our first World Cup in team pursuit, which was just bananas. And then I probably stayed at that team for a year. Alice Sharp and Kelly Murphy came on board, and then basically I went back to medicine at the end of that year. But we had an incredible time out in Mallorca training, and I suppose that's really where the elite level I got the bug and kicked off, although I was ready to let go of it and go back to medicine. And then that summer I just started doing triathlon again, and it kicked off, and again I just loved it. So it's not necessarily that I'm chasing elite level, it's more just that I get stuck in, and you kind of get brought up towards that. And
I guess you're getting the best of both worlds with the cycling being part of triathlon. So you're getting the swim and run. Yeah. And clearly not that your swim isn't good, but clearly your run has come on phenomenally as well, because you ran a Savage Marathon on Saturday. I'm really lucky. I don't know, my dad was a big runner, ran lots of marathons, and it's kind of in the family a little bit. And obviously my sister was an amazing runner. So I don't know, maybe having ran in school and things like that helps as well. You know, you kind of just have, it's there, it doesn't really go. So yeah, it's definitely coming along, and I really enjoy it as well. When I look at the results that you have, I don't know how many results we pulled out to look at, but I highlighted all the ones where you were a winner and the champion, either the national champion, the race winner, the age group winner. It's incredible. I'm just looking here. You had the ITU Abu Dhabi Sprint Triathlon, first overall 2021, the Masmar Dubai Standard Distance Triathlon, first female, Irish National Duathlon Championship last year, Irish Middle Distance Championship winner last year, Ironman Lanzarote first in your age group, first at the 70.3 hardman race, Connacht TT Championships winner. I mean, the list goes on and on. Like, and I know we only pulled out back as far as 2018, but really it was only 2017 where you kind of put the head down and really started. Like, that's a phenomenal achievement. You mentioned you went back to medicine, but you went to college and studied business and law in UCD and then worked in Google and then ended up doing medicine.
Yeah, equally convoluted. I'm not going to drag that one out like I just did the sports. I'm really sorry if anyone is still hanging on and listening. Thank you. I'll keep the rest of it short. My first degree was business law, worked in business, worked in Google for a couple of years, and then went back and did medicine and then worked in that. I'm kind of mixing both currently as well.
Okay, so where are we now with medicine? Because we know where we are with the sport and we know what pathway we're potentially going to be going on, but where are we with the medical career? What are you doing work-wise outside of sport, or are you working outside of sport?
Yeah, so in the medicine side of things, I was really lucky to be offered a GP scheme last year, and it was actually where I wanted it in Sligo. So there was a lot of turmoil making the decision last year whether or not I'd go for it. I think from my point of view, having kind of experienced balancing, 3 years of medicine with sport, there were just points where I got to breaking point, covered in cold sores, completely run down, felt I wasn't giving, my best to either or, half doing things. And that just kills me. So I basically decided with the GP scheme, I was like, I'm not doing it again. I'm not going to do the GP scheme and still pursue sport. And then I was like, okay, so I'll just do the GP scheme. And then I was like, I'm not ready to let go of sport. It's unfinished. There's just more I want to get out of myself personally, more than anything. I realized, now is the time for sport and not in another 8 years. And I don't want to be the person in 8 years' time looking back on, I had this great opportunity to see what I could get out of myself, but I didn't. So I let go of the GP scheme. And then I just was working kind of with occupational health, vaccinations, whatever part-time work I could find within the medical field that allowed me to continue sport and not be exhausted. But at the moment, I'm kind of taking a break from it. I'm doing a course in aesthetic medicine, which I find really interesting. It's really hands-on, which I enjoy. So I'm doing that on the side. And then I'm also working in business side of things, in the family business. I'm a director on the board of Carrigun, which I'm really enjoying as well. So I don't know where it's going to go, but I suppose I'm dedicating most of my time to sport at the moment, but still tipping away, or more than fair bit of work involved being a director. It's not like, wouldn't take it lightly. I don't know, maybe somewhere then in the future I can amalgamate business, medicine, sport. That's the dream. So we'll see.
So where has the fire for sport come from? Is it the success that you've been having and that it builds on that? Every success you have builds that fire more, stokes it more, ignites that passion within you? Or is it just, as you say, you want to get the most out of yourself, you want to go into the red, you want to prove to yourself how good you can be? Where does that come from? Where does that burning desire for success in business or medicine or sport come from?
Honestly, for me, it's not really the winning. It's not and don't get me wrong, it's such a great feeling to win and to be up there on a podium. But I just love it. I love pushing limits, seeing how far you can go, seeing improvements. I love the feeling after training, the feeling after racing. I love the days out where you meet other people, where you see people, pushing their limits. I just constantly motivated, inspired by that. Be it someone, doing their first 5K and not even sure they could fully run it, to, that's just as inspiring and motivating. And I buzz off that hard, which might sound a bit weird, but I really do. It really, really gets me. So yeah, I think the fire comes from it's my happy place training and competing, the people that I get to meet doing it, and I just want more of it. That's really it, and you know, finding the limits of what I can do, is definitely a big motivator as well.
So we haven't found the limit yet. Like Lionel Sanders, there's no limits.
No limits. Lionel, he is incredible. He's something else.
You might listen into the show. Level. We might get him on it at some point if we can.
Lionel.
Tell us about your current training, or maybe your training and preparation heading into the Ironman World Championships. You know, what did that entail in terms of swim, bike and run and recovery?
So I'm training with a coach called Merle Maud at the moment. She's under the Endure IQ group. Dan Plews is the head of that. So I started working with her after Ironman Lanzarote last year. More just kind of getting specific programming, because I was, you know, coming into specific races, I didn't feel able to adjust their regular programs for myself. So yeah, she's kind of, I think, getting a handle on me. And, you know, I suppose I wouldn't be a huge volume person, you know. I absolutely would do long rides and things, but within a week, I wouldn't manage to get, you know, 20 hours in a week is a really big week for me. 20 hours back to back is a really big week. But I am also, I suppose, early on, as you said, you know, I only really started any sort of specific training in 2017. So constantly building. And I really appreciate that she can kind of get that and is willing to work around that and still get the most out of me. So swimming's been a work in progress for the last 6 months. It's probably the first time I've had consistent swimming for 6 months. I had some consistent swimming with Hup Hup, but then COVID kicked in and it was a disaster and big gaps, and, you know, I was back to ground zero. So she's been really good with that. Just, you know, shorter sessions, not the volume that others will be doing yet, but building all the time. The bike, I think the biggest changes, say within the last 2 months coming into the Ironman, it was probably a lot of upper zone 2 kind of tempo training, those longer, steadier efforts. They're a little bit boring, but they've got to be done. You know, I'm used to being able to go out on the bike and like put in digs and, you know, those really hard like VO2 max efforts, which I love. But they paid off dividends, you know, and it needed to be done. So I got stuck into them and just turned my mind off. Very satisfying when you finish them. And then with the run coming into the Ironman, I just really conscious of the hills. So was up and down. There's a lovely route up the back of Crowpatrick. It's about a 4K climb. So I was up and down that a lot. Just getting the legs used to that up and down, and probably focused on that more than speed. Was the hills. Did a little bit of tempo work on treadmills as well. I find that is quite good for minding the legs a little bit when the load is high. But yeah, that's it. Nothing too special or exciting. Just.
And what about recovery then? How you used to recover after the sessions? You know, was there particular routines you did? You're going to tell me now that you do loads of strength and conditioning as well, like we all should, which I don't do.
Yeah, no, I am. I'm big into recovery. I have to be honest, big into it, especially because it involves sleep. Yeah, I'd seen a great physio here in Westport Physiotherapy. Niamh, I see her once a week no matter what, just so I have that kind of backup. I do 2 strength and conditioning sessions a week. Definitely, you know, from the background of track and cycling, we did a lot of weightlifting and strength then, and I just find it so beneficial. And then I am a foam rolling queen, so I will foam roll and stretch at least 5 nights a week. I'll put on Netflix and I'll just get on my foam roller and chill and foam roll everything.
How can you say foam roll and chill when I would be screaming the house down on my poor hamstrings?
I know. Yeah, it takes a while, but once you get in, like once you kind of got past that awful pain, it becomes just like really good.
Maybe that'll be my June challenge. Foam roll for 5 minutes every day.
Try it, honestly.
Of June.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't work for everyone. I think like those those guns, they're really good as well. I have one of them.
Yeah.
I find them really helpful. I don't know, do you know, half of it might just be up here in my head. But it works. And I've been, oh God, touch wood, I've been really lucky. I have stayed injury free. So I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
Okay, so I'm going to get a cheeky plug in here now for Newsstand, the skincare and body care range. You have an active CBD gel. I'm going to get them to send you some products to try those out as well, because I think they'll help with your recovery, and that active CBD gel is a game changer. So maybe that'll be my treat. Every day I do my foam rolling, I'm allowed to put some of it on my legs, because normally I wait until I use it regularly, but generally after a big hard bike session, because that's when I get the most benefit out of the product. But yeah, we'll definitely need to send some to you.
People swear by CBD. I'd definitely be interested to give it a go. I haven't yet, so
we'll see. Maybe that'll become part of your recovery routine.
I'll let you know.
The other piece we need to look at, or I'd like to look at, is nutrition, and especially for Utah, because it was so hot. It really was. I can't remember what it was in the end. I know the water was 17 degrees, which was quite balmy for us, but cold for a lot of the international and American athletes. But the air temperature on the day, I mean, I know on the Friday, which was bike checking, it hit 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is somewhere around 34 degrees Celsius. I don't think it hit that high on race day, but it was definitely in the 30s. So how did you stay hydrated and fueled throughout the course?
Well, look, I don't have it down to a specific art yet. It's kind of trial and error still. Given it's only my second one.
Was it only your second Ironman?
Yeah. Did you not pick that up earlier on? It's only my second one.
Jeez, Hilary,
I'm trying though. I don't want people to be taking advice off me when I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing myself.
Hey, listen.
People will be like, that's what she did. That's a really good idea. And then, next week I'll be like, no, that was actually a really bad idea.
Okay, so what Hilary Hughes does isn't necessarily what you should do.
Exactly.
It comes with a warning. However, I'm intrigued to hear what she actually does do, because it's probably sound advice. So Hilary, over to you again.
Okay, so I use Morton. I find it really, really good. I basically, just make sure I'm fueled well the days leading into the race. And then I drank a Morton before the race, along with a bottle of Coke. And
before the race, you had Coke?
Yeah. I told you, this is why I'm putting a qualification asterisk. Maybe I should just not tell the truth and list off someone else's nutrition.
No, go on, keep going. I'm just surprised at the Coke so early in the day in the race. Go on.
Yeah, well, yeah, I did.
I'm like Joe Duffy on Lifeline. I'm like Joe Duffy on Lifeline. Go on, Hilary, go on.
Okay, so I don't know, what did I do then? So on my bike, I had 2 bottles of 750 mils with 1 Morton packet in each. So I think that's about 80 grams of carb. I had my front drink container. I don't know the lingo for it. And I had another 80 grams of carbs in that. I had a little bottle of Red Bull on my Aero bottle. And I had loads of gels shoved down my top. The plan was to basically try and get in about 8 grams of carbs every 90 minutes. And to stop and to get water at every aid station, just to kind of keep on top of the hydration. Oh, I also had some salt tablets that I had in my little bento box, or whatever it's called. And I probably took about 4 of those fast chews throughout the race. But basically, that was all going well until I lost my nutrition. The bottles fell off the back along with my bottle holders. So the plan changed a little bit. And I basically had to make sure that when I passed the aid stations, I got some Gatorade, tried to pump that into the front of my bottle. Geez, I was taking everything, to be honest, because it all changed. It all went up in there. So I was grabbing Cokes, smashing them down, getting them off before you had to the finish of the trash. I was smashing Red Bull. It was all, to be honest, it kind of went into saving mode. It was like, all I know is that I need to get as many carbs and hydration water as I can into me before I start this run. So it became priority at every aid station to slow down and get it in, which was a little bit annoying. But this is what happens in races, and it didn't affect me massively.
And you'd wonder, if you hadn't done that, would you have been so strong on the run?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. There was no two ways about it. That was my priority. I wasn't going to risk not being fueled getting onto that run. So
After taking all that sugary crap,
yeah,
all the sugar, all the gels,
yeah.
one, how was your stomach? And two, did you actually sleep after the race?
Yeah, sleeping after the race is hard, no matter what. My stomach's fine. I had no problem. I find the Morton really good for that.
But even the mix of the Red Bull, the Gatorade, the Coke, the gels, everything.
God, you're making me sound like I don't know.
No, but I'm genuinely intrigued because I know there's so many people
I have a great
suffer.
constitution. I come from a long line of strong stomachs, and I'm able to handle it.
I'd be in the Portuguese. I'd actually be puking, I think. With all that
I got away. I did get away with murder, to be honest. But one of those days where you're like, it's going down really well. If it had felt like it wasn't going down well, I would have had to change my plan. But it was just, we were absorbing it very, very well.
Wow. That's impressive.
I don't know.
So I could ask you now, where did the
you said we could edit out some of this, didn't you?
No, absolutely no way. There is no editing happening on this episode whatsoever. Which line of the family did the strong constitution come from? I'm joking. I'm not asking that question. Oh, your mum. I wasn't expecting you to answer that question, but I was going to lead in and ask you a question about your family genes because a very sporting family. I know that the Hugheses in general are a big family, and you have some world records, or at least I think your dad might have been involved in it. Your uncles were definitely involved in it with the Dublin Marathon. But also, what is it about Westport? I mean, we have the Dohertys, the Gallaghers, the Hugheses. There's just like a stronghold in success in sport from this tiny little fabulous town on the Wild Atlantic Way in Ireland, in Mayo.
And even in cycling, there was Ben Walsh, Owen McLaughlin, who's now a Mayo GA player. Niall, he's one of the junior upcoming cyclists. He had
Niall,
fantastic. Niall McLaughlin,
He had
an incredible racing at wasn't it down Rossmoon? Yeah. It's, I don't know what it is like. And there's more up and coming. There's a young girl, Abby Conway. She's going to be a fantastic triathlete if it so takes her fancy.
But even if you look outside of Westport and you look at Mayo as a county, there's quite a lot of athletes who have gone down that individual sport route. It's per capita, per county. You've done very well. Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
Must be the water.
It must be the water, or there mightn't be a whole lot else to do. I know, I'm joking.
Or maybe it's the Holy Mountain and all the running up and down the Holy Mountain that you do in Croagh Patrick for your training, and the cycling on the gravel trails.
Exactly. It's inspiring out here. It's good to be outside.
I'm conscious that we've been chatting and laughing for quite a long time now, but let's talk about Utah. I know that it was your second time racing in Utah, because obviously you'd been there for the 70.3 World Championships, and they return this coming October to Utah. And I know that some of the listeners will be going out to Utah, or maybe qualify for Utah in the next round of races that are coming up throughout the 2022 season. So if you were to go back out to Utah, is there anything you would do differently, or are there any pieces of advice you would give the athletes going out there?
I've actually had there seems to be quite a group going out already, because I've had a few people in touch with me. Look, I think it's a trip of a lifetime right there. So I'd be really excited for anybody that's heading out there. Anybody who gets offered a slot, go for it. Don't think twice. Don't be intimidated by, it's a world champs, anything like that. Get stuck in would be my first thing to say. It's absolutely brilliant. If you're thinking about trying to qualify, do it. Just try. It'll be an experience of a lifetime.
Because I know there's a number of additional slots for women for try for the 70.3 World Championship for female athletes, in addition to the normal slots that go out. So it's definitely worth keeping an eye on those as well if you are interested in qualifying.
And you never know when you might qualify, because with roll down and everything. So I'd encourage anyone to go out and give it their best on a day, and you just never know if you might get a roll down to a slot. So definitely, I think you'd probably be the same. I think getting there, Vegas probably is the best nearest airport, and you can either get a shuttle up. I use St. George's shuttle, or you can rent a car. There is a small airport in St. George as well. I don't know, did you fly into that?
No, I didn't. I heard there was little propeller planes flying in St. George, and I thought,
like, no thanks,
I'll take a lift from Vegas, thanks.
Yeah. And yeah, then like there's hotels and there's houses, basically, is what I found. You either stay in a hotel within the town, which is pretty good, or you can rent a house if there's a few of you. First time I stayed in a hotel, second time I rented a house, and I was so glad we rented a house. It was such an experience, but they're a little bit more expensive. And I think then if you do rent a house, you probably want to rent a car, because they'll be outside of town. First time I was there, I didn't have a car, and I managed. You know, the Ironman like supplied a lot of shuttles and everything, which is really helpful down to the lake and down to, you know, different places. But it definitely was helpful having a car this time. So again, maybe something to consider. And then, yeah, get out there early and soak it all in is what I'd say. Go ride the routes a few times, enjoy the landscapes. It's incredible. It's so breathtaking out there. Get some time to go visit Zion Park and, you know, get into town, enjoy the good food, get up to Bayo, have some pies. Did you come across the state liquor store?
What? No.
So Utah's a dry state, right? So you can only buy beers in supermarkets. But I had a good Irish crew with me that needed some spirits. So we had to find out where you could buy them. And there's only 2 state liquor stores in the whole of St. George. And you need ID no matter what age you are. So top tip, make sure you bring your ID to the state liquor store if you want to buy some nice Napa Valley wine or some spirits.
That is a very good tip. I decided not to buy duty free in the Irish airport, thinking I could get it in JFK because I flew to Vegas via JFK. But when I got to JFK, they wouldn't sell me any alcohol because it was on a domestic flight. Now, I can tell you that Paul Kay and Mike Riley were very disappointed that they didn't individually get a bottle of whiskey from Ireland. So I had a lot of making up to do. So the look of disappointment from the 2 boys was... they were not impressed. I had a lot of making up to do. And in terms of, I suppose, training for it, then you mentioned as well earlier that when you were training for the full distance, you did a lot of hill training, a lot of running hill training specifically, because it is a hilly town.
Yeah. So look, if the 70.3 course is the same as the one I did last year, get out in your hills. It's significantly more steeper incline and a descent than it is in the full distance. So I think like that was probably the biggest shock to me when I did the 70.3 out there, was just how steep the climbs were and then how steep the descents were, and just kind of getting into a rhythm. You're either going up or you're going down. So I would definitely recommend like putting that into training, you know, fast 2K descents and steep 2 to 3K climbs. And then when you get out there, recce it. Because, you know, you're free falling down those descents and you need to know where to go because you're just going, you can't help it. Your legs just go so fast no matter what. And I definitely say get out and ride Snow Canyon as well. And be aware that no matter how easy it feels in the days prior, it's going to be hard. And then, yeah, they're amazing the way they set up the practice swims and stuff, aren't they? It's so well done. You can go down to Santalo in the morning. They give you a chip. It's all organized. You get to swim some of the course. And then there's also a lot of pools that are open. So I went to the Dixie State University for practice swims there. It's in town, it's open, it's free. It's a really good pool. It's a little bit cold, but I don't say that lightly. I had other people agree with me.
The other thing to remember as well, if you're going out there, is that it is at altitude and it's a very dry air. It's not like Kona where it's very humid. It's completely different. And I remember, I think it was that Dave Scott and Mark Allen kept saying to people, you know, you'll be sweating, but you won't feel it because the sweat will just evaporate. So you don't realize how much fluid you're losing. So that's another important piece as well. The dry air, it catches your throat, it catches your mouth. Time. And then obviously the racing at altitude as well. It's nearly 1,000 meters, I think. Yeah.
So it's I think 800 up to something, like 1-1 or 1-2. Throughout the race. 100%. Like if you can afford to get out there a little bit before time and adapt, it does make a difference. And I think this time round, it made a big difference compared to last race for me.
If I was to ask you, what are you most proud of in all you've achieved since you took up the sport of triathlon and cycling back just those few years ago? What would you say has been your biggest achievement or the thing you're most proud of?
Oh God, you're kind of catching me off guard. Not being afraid to jump in the deep end. I think that has been something that I've learned, and you kind of have to start to know yourself and know the reasons why you're doing something, and not necessarily worry about what others think. And getting past those barriers is really difficult. But if you can get to a point where you're not scared to try something new, no matter how overwhelming it feels, and you give yourself a break and realize that it is going to be hard, it is going to feel awkward, you are going to feel so out of your depth, you're going to wonder what the hell you're doing, why are you here, you'll have imposter syndrome. And I think I say that across sport as well as medicine. I've had the exact same feelings, business, everything. If you can get to that point, then the world opens up, and you have so many incredible experiences. Not always, some are hard, but they're learning experiences. So yeah, I guess I'm proud of getting to a point where mostly I'm not scared to jump in the deep end and see what the outcome is. And I'd love for everybody else to get to that point as well, no matter what the endeavor is. It could be getting out for your first 1K walk, just like to be able to break through that barrier and go for it.
And speaking of diving in at the deep end, is there anything you'd like to share with us about potentially your future in sport?
Yeah, I mean, I got to practice what I preach. I am considering going racing pro, basically. I've got the qualification. I'm under no illusion. It's a massive step up. I will be dropped like a hot rocket, or whatever they say, in that first 100 meters in the swim. I know that. And it's really intimidating, knowing that going in. But I've been there before. My first Ross and a man dropped. Other races dropped. But it can only get better. So, I wouldn't, even though it's a massive step up, I still wouldn't do it lightly. If I didn't think I have a chance of at least representing well, because when you go pro, it's more about your country and your people, but the people who are interested and care about the sport. You are representing more than just yourself. So I'd really love to do it. I think it's a massive challenge. And jump in and see what happens and give it my best. And if my best isn't good enough, then make peace with that. And if it is good enough, then long may it continue.
And what was the saying we had? We're going all in. We're going all in, Joanne.
All in.
We're going all in. And you talk about having the courage to step up and to do things. That's a massive step to take, to dive into becoming a professional triathlete. But you're in good company, because if you look at Katrina Matthews, who finished second in the world on Saturday.
Don't even put me in that league.
No,
that
but
girl
look at where she has come from as well. You look at Ruth Astle.
She's a phenomenal person.
but you'll also look at Ruth Astle as well, who was the overall age group world champion in Kona in 2019. She turned pro in the middle of COVID, and she finished fifth in the world in her first world championships as a professional athlete.
I'd be lying if I said that I don't look at those women and go, wow, and maybe, but it's all about getting the right people around and getting stuck in, and those girls, like, they're insane. And
it's great to have them to look up to as well.
Absolutely.
I think, they've shown that it can be done in quick succession. And your career is only starting out. When you think about it as well, you're only a wet week in the sport of triathlon. So it's absolutely fantastic, and I cannot wait to see you at your first professional race, if that happens, when it happens. I'm sure I think
if it does happen, which hopefully it will, and soon, I'll make sure you're on the line.
No pressure,
make me go a bit faster.
No pressure. I also want to ask you, I know we've mentioned Kat and Ruth, and we mentioned Christian Blumenfeld earlier on. They're all big names in sport, but bring it back more local, Hilary. Who inspires you to be the best athlete that you can be? There is such a wealth of athletes in Ireland across every sport that you can name. I don't know, maybe I'm easily inspired. I don't think I am. Well, I don't know. But like, as I said to you, basically anybody who gets stuck in and goes outside their comfort zone in any aspect, I find really motivating, and I really genuinely do buzz off that. But if we're talking at the elite end of the sport, there's just
rake of women in Ireland and men that are really inspiring. I think particularly, I would have looked up to, say, the greats like John Tracy or Sonia O'Sullivan. They're accessible. I've met both of them, and just in Ireland, having those type of people accessible to you is really amazing to get to talk to them and see what they've done. And then, I'm really lucky to have a really close friend who I got to watch in action preparing for the Olympics, Annalise Murphy. I mean, to see the grind and the perfection and the overcoming obstacles that woman has done, and she's a silver medalist. Like it has been an absolute honor to be around her and watch her in action. And you absorb so much from people like that. Then I had Eve McChrystal, who was a mentor to me when I started out cycling. That the generosity of her time and her explaining things to me, but getting her dad to pay for my first, I didn't bring numbers to my first bike race. So Eve asked her dad to pony up a $5 so that I could borrow some numbers. Do you know, like, it's little things like that. There's just like Rachel Blackmore breaking through barriers no more than yourself, being the first female Iron woman global speaker. I'm kind of annoyed because we made a deal that we would talk a little bit more about what you've achieved, considering you've broken down barriers, you really won up for the woman, and you were amazing out in Utah. And it's only getting bigger and better for you too.
Don't make me cry now, Hilary Hughes, because when we met on the Monday morning and I went up to give you a hug after the ceremony, the two of us had tears running down our faces because we were so excited and so happy. So don't make me cry on my own podcast.
But has it sunk in? I won't, it's incredible. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it's mad. It's kind of like this time last week we were out at the bike check-in. We probably met this time last week. Out at bike check-in. It kind of has and it kind of hasn't. It definitely was a huge honor to be invited to be part of that team. And you're right, you're breaking down barriers and you're breaking down glass ceilings. And at the Women for Tri Breakfast, Paula Newby Fraser, who is the queen of Ironman, 8-time Ironman World Champion, 24 championship titles at Ironman. I mean, she introduced me to the room and I was shaking getting up on the stage. And I didn't know what to say or what to do or whatever.
What? You didn't know what to say?
I know, I was speechless. But, when you think back at it, there's a huge responsibility on being the first to do anything and to try and pave the way for others to follow. And I really resonate with what you said about having the courage to step up and the courage to do things. And there's a huge amount of imposter syndrome, and you think you're not good enough, and you do things and you think, oh my God, that was stupid, or it was just the wrong thing to do, or maybe it was the right thing to do, or you just never really know, but you just keep and not
there's an inner belief in you, and an inner, you're on the right path, Joanne. It's you're blazing a trail. It's really and coming from a small country, it's not an American female, it's an Irish woman is the first Ironman global announcer. That, it's incredible.
When you and I did think that a couple of times. I was like, here we are. I'm from Cork. I'm living in Galway on this little island. Yeah. And you just have to pinch yourself, and then you kind of take a step back and you go, okay, so I need to do this. I need to do it properly. I need to be the best version of myself. When you're there, because you're not only representing yourself, you're representing your country, you're representing your tri club, you're representing all the women that would love to be in this position, and even the men that would have loved to have been in that position, to have been part of the team. And we have some incredible female and male announcers around the world that I am just so lucky to work with. And then I have to give a huge kudos to Mike Riley and Paul Kay, who've been huge advocates of mine all throughout the years, and the amount of support.
And sure, why wouldn't they be?
I know, but at the same time, it's like you surrounding yourself with a great team. You've got your coach. Paul Kay is a huge support to me throughout. Since we started working with each other many years ago. Same at Mike Riley. We clicked, we had fun, we enjoyed each other's company, and he's been a huge support as well. But then even the wider team at Ironman, it's really daunting. I'm Joanne Murphy from Ireland going into the World Championships, meeting all the Ironman team. I know people probably think she's grand, but you do get pretty nervous and it's daunting.
when you're out there and you see what you're doing, I just like, how is that woman operating at that level? It's insane.
But I let you in a little secret. So on the Thursday morning, I did the all-world athlete breakfast. So it was Ben Hoffman, Mark Allen, Dave Scott and Julie Moss. So Ben Hoffman, 4th at the IRONMAN World Championships in 2019. He'd won Ironman Texas 2 weeks previously. He'd won Ironman St. George. Incredible athlete. You have Mark Allen and Dave Scott, 6-time Ironman World Champions, legends in their own right. And you have Julie Moss, who like crawled across the finish line in 1982 in 2nd position. So I had to interview them. Now we had a theme and we had questions and it was all kind of done already. But I'm telling you, I was so nervous. I hadn't slept for 3 or 4 days properly because of jet lag. I was probably getting about 4 hours sleep. And on the Wednesday night going to bed, I was like, okay, I might have had too many whiskeys there now, but I think I'll get up at 5 a.m. to do some research and to make sure I have all this done. There was no reason for me to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We weren't on stage. We weren't on stage until I think it was 8:30. But I just myself, it was like that lack of, it was almost like, oh God, will I be able to do this? Will I mess it up? It was my first time flying solo. You're front and center with the World
intimidating.
And you're just like, oh my God. But it was a buzz. It was such a buzz. And we had Carissa Galloway as well, who was there as part of the announcing team for the first couple of days. She helped with Iron Kids and things like that as well. And she was there. And it was just lovely to have the female support. And the whole event was run by the girls. So there was a real sense of camaraderie and community between us as well. And you just wanted to be the best you could be. And that's all, whether you're an athlete, whether you're an announcer, no matter what you do.
That's it, isn't it?
Just want to be the best you can be. And I'm going to get emotional now when I think back about what we did.
I'll get emotional too. The Giddy Girls finish the podcast right.
Be the first time I cried on my own. Be the first time I cried on my own podcast. I've made plenty of people cry over the last few years. But no, it was huge. And the one thing I would say to anybody who is daunted or scared about doing something, just bloody do it. Like, just have the courage. It's the same with stepping up to do an Ironman, even qualifying for the World Championships, like you said, just if you can afford to do it, if you can do it, if you can give it the time, if you can give it your best shot, if it's something that there's a burning desire inside of you to achieve this, then just go and do it.
Yeah. Don't worry about anything else.
Just take the steps.
Blinkers on and give it a go.
And as Gavin Noble said in the interview we did with him a while ago, he goes, nobody gives a shit, Joanne. Nobody's actually watching what you're doing. And I have to admit, when you started talking about what you were doing, I was like, Gavin Noble must have been talking to Hilary, because nobody cares. Everyone's watching their own path, their own piece. You get a glance from somebody, you get whatever on social media. That's all fine, but everybody is so focused on their own stuff that nobody really gives a crap what anybody else is doing. Unless,
that's the honest truth.
Unless there's specifics around it. But in a general sense of the term, just go about your business, be the best you can be, and the world is your oyster. And anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
But before we finish up, because we've been talking for ages, so if people are still actually listening to us, I think...
Wow, that's an Ironman in itself.
So the last time I interviewed someone where I giggled as much as I giggled was Nikki Bartlett in 2019, and we giggled the whole way through it. Okay, so before we finish up, I do have some questions that came in from some of the audience. One of the first ones actually was, and I think we've kind of covered it, but Mike Moriarty says, has she had to take much time out of work to train at such a high level?
Yeah, I think, as I said, I've forgotten jumping on a GP scheme at the moment, but overall throughout life I've kind of balanced it up until this point, and now sport is just getting a little bit more attention, but I'm still tipping away on the side. So yeah, it's a balancing act.
Okay. And Duathlon Diarmid, how does she manage her day job and train at that level without injury? And what is your favorite part of triathlon?
Well, when I was working full-time up until last summer, it was really you have to be really careful. You really have to listen to your body. You have to know when today is not a day to train. And you just make that call. If you're feeling particularly tired, a bit run down, if you're a bit sore, I would always be operating on the cautious end, because I feel like consistency is definitely better than, big sessions. So I think that's the easiest way to just be a little bit extra cautious of yourself if you are working and training at the same time, and to watch out for signs of potential danger, injury coming down the road.
And what's your favorite workout? Like, what is your favorite across swim, bike and run? If you had a choice on any given day, what would you do?
Hands down, on my road bike, VO2 efforts up a climb.
Did you just say VO2 efforts?
Yeah.
Oh,
every day. Give it to me every day, especially if the girls are out. Get Becky and Elise, go smash up some climbs, like keel over and go again. Love it.
Ronan Kieran asks, will Annalise Murphy go from super supporter to triathlon newbie and take on an Ironman? Now, Annalise, there's a challenge for you.
Well, Annalise has done multiple Ironmans actually, and a marathon this year. Yes, this girl does it all. But I am trying to rope her into maybe an Ironman in Ireland. She'll kill me for putting that out there, but we made a little pact that if
was that like our pact, was it?
Yeah. If I do go pro, then she has to do an Ironman in Ireland. So at least you made the pact with me. I'm calling you out. I know she'll definitely do one at some stage. And yeah, she's smashing it up on the bike at the moment on Tuesdays in Cork Park. I'd say she might give, I know, Time Trial Nationals a go again. She was 5th in it last year, even though she had COVID. All sorts of crazy things. So,
and I think you should nominate her to be the next guest on the podcast.
I nominate you, Annalise, to be the next guest on the podcast and have way more crack and more interesting things to say than I. Honestly, her stories, like I've been friends with her for years now, and I still, my jaw drops listening to some of her stories. Volvo Ocean Race, get her on, talk about it. That is endurance. And
my final question, last final question is, what are you most looking forward to in the season ahead?
I am looking forward to trying to actually go hard in some of these longer races and not be like, just the only mission is to go hard and see how long I can last. Now, with the caveat that like you're not going into the red and completely annihilating yourself, but like trying to race faster, trying to race harder, trying to see what the limits are, trying to see when do I break down and can't handle it anymore. I'm excited to do that, and I think it'll be a bit of a journey. I think I'll probably blow up a few times and be like, oh, okay, that's too far, but that definitely gets me excited.
Well, yeah. I am definitely looking forward to seeing where the path leads. Our Hilary Hughes from Westport Triathlon Club, congratulations on everything you've achieved so far. I am so glad that we had to wait until now to do the podcast because it was just the perfect time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the rest of recovery. I can't wait to see you on a finish line, and best of luck with everything. I'm so proud of you. Well done.
Oh, thanks so much, Joanne.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can get in touch with any feedback or guest suggestions by emailing me on trytalkingsport@gmail.com. You can follow all of our activities and podcasts on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn and Instagram. Pop by and say hi and let me know what you think of the show. If you are new to Try Talking Sport, please do check out some of our previous episodes. You will be impressed and inspired by our guests. Finally, be sure to sign up to our new e-zine featuring articles of interest, some great discounts and the inside track on supporting your triathlon and endurance sport journey, wherever it may take you. Sign up on www.trytalkingsport.com. It takes 30 seconds and I promise I won't bombard your inbox with emails, just the important stuff. Until next time, stay safe, keep smiling and remember to look for fun and adventure in every day.